What's the most terrifying thing you've experienced that no one believes? My name is Emma, and I'd only been working at the Orchard Bakery for about a week when it happened. The job was straightforward enough. Third shift, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., stocking shelves, cleaning up, and getting the place ready for the morning rush. The bakery was part of a local orchard, a family-run business. The store was dimly lit, just enough to see what I was doing, with the fluorescent lights casting long shadows across the floor. I turned to grab another loaf from the rack behind me, and when I spun back around, there he was, a man standing by the cold case, maybe 10 feet away. He looked like he was in his late 40s or early 50s, bald, with a thin but sturdy build. He wore a red flannel shirt tucked neatly into a pair of jeans, the kind of outfit you'd see on half the guys around town. His hands were in his pockets, and he was just standing there, staring at the cold case. The thing is, the cold case was covered up for the night, so there was nothing to see, just a plain white cover draped over the glass. "Hey, how are you?" he said, his voice calm and friendly, like we were old acquaintances. I froze for a second, caught off guard. It wasn't unheard of for the owners to pop in after hours, but it was 3 a.m., and I hadn't heard the bell on the front door or the creak of the back entrance. Still, I managed a polite hi. "I'm doing well, how are you?" "I'm fine, thank you," he replied, giving me a small nod. His voice was steady, almost too steady, like he was just going through the motions of conversation. I turned back to the shelf, sliding a loaf of sourdough into place. It couldn't have been more. Same as before, but the spot where he'd been was empty. I scanned the room, my heart picking up a little. The bakery wasn't huge. Open floor plan, a few display racks, and a clear view to the front door. There was no way someone could have walked out without me seeing at least a blur of movement. I didn't hear the door's bell, the floorboards, or even the faint squeak of shoes. Nothing. I stood there, bread in hand, trying to make sense of it. My first thought was that maybe someone had broken in. The idea made my stomach twist. Was a lock in the back door busted? Could someone just waltz in undetected like that? I didn't want to work somewhere that felt unsafe, especially on the graveyard shift. I checked the front and back doors, both locked tight. No signs of tampering. I even poked my head into the back room, where my coworker, Sarah, was cleaning the ovens. She hadn't seen or heard anything either. When I got home that morning, I was still rattled. I told my mom about it over coffee at the kitchen table. "It was so weird," I said, stirring sugar into my mug. This guy was just standing there, looking at a covered-up cold case. He wasn't browsing, wasn't trying to steal anything. He just talked to me, then vanished. Mom leaned back in her chair, sipping her coffee. "Sounds like it could have been the owner. They check in sometimes, don't they?" "Yeah, maybe," I said, but it didn't sit right. The guy didn't act like he owned the place. He didn't ask about the stock or check anything. He just stood there, calm as anything, like he was waiting for something. A few days later, I met the actual owner, Mr. Thompson. He was a stocky guy in his 60s with a full head of gray hair and a loud laugh that filled the room. Definitely not the man I'd seen. I started asking around, trying to figure out if any of the other employees matched the description. No one did, but one of the bakers, an older woman named Linda, who'd been there for years, mentioned something that made my skin prickle. She said Mr. Thompson was still working long hours because his son, who was supposed to take over the business, had passed away a couple of years ago. Cancer, she said. It hit the family hard. That night, I couldn't shake the conversation. I got home, opened my laptop, and started searching for the son's obituary. It didn't take long to find it in the local paper's archives. His name was Michael Thompson, and when I saw his picture, my heart stopped. Bald, thin build, probably in his late 40s. The obituary didn't mention what he wore, obviously, but I could picture that red flannel shirt clear as day. It was him. The guy I'd seen in the store, standing by the cold case, was Michael. I sat back, staring at the screen, my hand shaking a little. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe I'd seen his picture somewhere before. Maybe my brain was playing tricks on me. But I knew what I'd seen. He'd been there,